There's a new warmth in the air today. The trees lay dormant from a cold winter, but students run about and stumble on rollerblades. A group of young men throw around a football as they get their fraternity house ready for the weekend's festivities. Across the street, a group of workers eagerly assemble a party tent. Downtown, a long line is forming for a fresh and tasty culinary craft beer confection. It's lunchtime on February 23rd in Athens, Georgia, and as the white leaves from cherry trees fall on the campus of the University of Georgia, you know that spring is getting near. I'm Joshua Jones, and this is the first edition of the ABH Podcast. Thanks for checking this out. So this is a new weekly series I'll be doing to highlight some of our best stories from the week prior, showcase some unique features I'm working on for this show, and look ahead. But first, let's start the podcast out with looking back at last week at some of our biggest stories and what's going on in town. Last week, from writer Chris Stars, we had an exciting report about Athens, Clarke County rolling out a fleet of hybrid buses. 12 buses in all that cost $8.4 million, with the funding coming from state and local grants as well as local sales tax. The department's district director, Butch McDuffie, said he was very excited and this was a very big deal for Athens Transit as they were moving into a new era of alternative fuel. For more on this, check out the story on onlineathens.com. Another story we had last week is another development in the downtown developments along Clayton Street, or rather I should say the widening of Clayton Street. Downtown business owners may get their wish for a two-phase schedule for this streetscape project. Clayton Street between College Avenue and Thomas Street will become a two-lane road with widened sidewalks. At first, ACC commissioners had recommended adopting a more aggressive schedule that would have ended the project about 8 months sooner than the split schedule. All of this according to a report by our own Lee Scherer, which you can find over at onlineathens.com. But I'm going to wrap it up here a little bit. Dozens of downtown business owners signed a petition asking commissioners to stage the project so that it would not disrupt shopping during the busiest time of year, football season and whatnot. And Athens Clarke County officials are hearing them out and now requesting a split schedule for the project, according to an email from Athens Clarke County manager Blaine Williams. The government has also scheduled 2 public meetings for Wednesday at the Michael Brothers Building, 320 East Clayton Street. One meeting will occur from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m., with the other meeting starting at 6 o'clock and running until 8 p.m. Now I'm going to move into a quick recap of UGA sports from the weekend. Again on Friday, the Gym Dogs set off in another NCAA gymnastics meet under the lights at Stegman Coliseum, but unfortunately came up short against LSU. On Saturday, the University of Georgia's men's basketball team again faced off with LSU, but this time it was the University of Georgia on top, 93-82. And then on Sunday, the UGA Lady Dogs basketball team defeated the University of Florida by a whopping 20 points, 63-43 in Stegman Coliseum. The University of Georgia baseball team also swept Charlotte this weekend. And to wrap out sports, on Sunday afternoon at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia, members of the community, friends, family, former players all gathered to remember Clark Central's iconic football coach, Billy Henderson, who was laid to rest last weekend after passing away at the age of 89. I wanted to include some sound from that event. Clark Central football coach David Perno, who played under Coach Henderson, spoke, and I'll just take you to that right now.
Guys, I don't know which worse, following Charlie speak or following Coach Henderson at Clark Central. So it's going to be tough, Charlie. You know, he held everything back. I tried to get something from him earlier. He used to say what's in your heart. I got things written down, and I'm prepared, but at some point I'm going to have to pull this microphone off and get into it a little bit. But before I do, some of our players here, and I was real proud of them, they actually showed up on time early today, but I'm glad they showed up. And I think I'd be remiss, you know, they're grieving another death that happened a couple days after Coach Henderson died, and it's Kate Jones, who was a junior at Clark Central, and both her parents graduated from Clark Central. They were gladiators through and through, and please keep them in your prayers. For starters, I'm a little out of place with Mr. Johnson and Charlie Dean and so many other great players here I see today, and I'm just very honored to have this opportunity. Feel very fortunate and very humbled to come up here, and quite frankly terrified. You know, all these years, there's not many things that terrified me, but trying to give you Billy's stories is something you don't want to screw up, because he had such an impact. Such an impact, as Charlie alluded to. Of course, he took a lot of the information, but we'll make it work. But you know, he was a father figure to so many people. Even if I had a father, I had a great father, I still do. But you know, Billy was my second one, no question. I mean, he was without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he buried his son, he buried his loving wife. He buried players, and he buried a grandson. I mean, you can't get dealt a tougher deck of cards in a lifetime. And he still stayed positive. Stayed positive. The day I got fired from the University of Georgia. Now, I know that I'm as surprised as you, but it happened. And I get this call. I mean, he was always there. I had a player paralyzed. You know, when we would go to the World Series or win a SEC championship, you know, I wouldn't hear from him for about 4 weeks, and then he would call me and knock me down a little bit. But I had a kid get paralyzed in 2010. I had a kid get paralyzed in 2011. My mother passed away in 2012. I got fired in 2013. So it was a tough run. Every time, to the T, he was first phone call. His first phone call, and I'll never forget it in 2013 when he called me in May, and I hear that infamous, hey. Y'all players remember that. And I was like, Coach, you know, I felt bad. I felt bad for him. I mean, I was one of his people, and, you know, you just feel so disappointed when you get fired, especially from the school you graduated from and felt like you were doing good things. And I said, I don't understand it, Coach. He said, it's not for you to understand. He said, it's for you to pick yourself up and move forward. I said, I got you. And I said, you know, I went back, and before I knew what the program was, the thing that stuck out to me was Impossible Dream. Because we used to hear it. And back then, as players, you didn't get it because it was so slow. And hearing the song, we wanted a little more beat. But, you know, the first phrase and the last phrase are things I wanted to mention. And impossible dream. To dream the impossible dream. To fight the unbeatable foe. To bear with unbearable sorrow. And to run where the brave dare not go. I mean, that was Coach. I mean, every piece of that was him through and through. He taught us everything we needed to know. He laid out a blueprint for us to be successful. You know, sit in the front row. Class, you'll make no worse than a B. Put a little effort in, sit in the front row, you'll make an A. You're never out of place in a coat and tie. Eye contact, body language, firm handshake. He was so far ahead of the curve with the coaches now. I mean, he was in the process in the 70s, in the 80s. People talk about it. I mean, he was there. It wasn't about winning. He would sacrifice winning. He wanted men of honor. He wanted people with integrity. He wanted us to learn those values. And that's what he instilled in us every day. I mean, I can still hear the things ringing. Yet, he said the one thing, and what Charlie said, life isn't fair. It's not equal. It's not fair. But the one thing he used to say, the one thing that is time. Everybody's got the same amount. It's what you do with yours that makes the difference. And I've lived by that. And that's so true. That's why I'll send texts at 4 o'clock in the morning. Just let someone know I'm working while you're sleeping. Well, he believed in it. Matter of fact, I would venture to say that, all the players that went on to play, of course, I went on to play college baseball, but all the scholarships guys went on. The bar for coaches, when we left Clark Central, was set so high that college coaches, it was a letdown. And I don't mean that all of them were bad coaches. He just had set the bar, they couldn't touch it. Because you had a relationship with Coach Henderson. You had a relationship on a whole different level. And it's always, when I was asked to speak, I reached out to former teammates. That's what we do. We lean on each other. We lean on each other. When you got something, when you got an issue, that's what Coach taught us to do. And I reached out to Derek Dooley, who's the coach, and we have the same issues. From a standpoint is, you always feel like you can't reach or touch your players like Coach could touch us. And it's something that, if you didn't go into coaching, but it's something you struggle with. You really fight it because you want to have an impact and touch, and you want your players to want to come back to Clark Central and never forget it. And through the years, we've had a lot of people, move out, former Gladiators move out to Oconee County and go to different schools. And Billy did forgive y'all. I haven't, but Billy has. Two of the things he saw and got, he didn't see skin color. Never did. And he preached it. And he preached it. And until this day, it's something I don't see. He saw the best in everyone. He saw the best in every situation. And those were things. He took a bunch of selfish, trust me, I got 2 teenagers. I love them to pieces, but that age, you're as selfish as you get in your lifetime. And he saw selfish, arrogant, and he made us selfless and brought us together. And he made us believe in something bigger than us. And at that age, when you understand that, it's something that will set you up for the rest of your life. It'll set you up to do things right and be selfless. And one thing he always said to me when I was in coaching, you got to do things the right way all the time for the right reasons. One without the other doesn't work like it's supposed to be. And that's something that has stuck with me forever. It was about unconditional love, and he had it for each and every one of us. He had time. He knew the temperature of his teams. He knew the temperature of the individual. What he needed to do. Did he need to push? Did he need to pull back? He knew it. He knew what he had to do in every situation, and he was never wrong. At least I didn't think so. And there was something, it was a knack that, that he just got it. what was it? It was like, we practice. He always was going to be there. Come rain, sleet, flood, or mud. I used to hear that all the time. Our kids nowadays cheer for bad weather because they know they call everything off. Gets too windy, gets too cold. No school, thanks to everybody in Atlanta who screwed that up a couple years ago. But, not back in those days. I mean, trust me when I say this. I mean, Coach wouldn't have been able to get away with some of the things he got away with in the 80s. And I know Charlie in the 70s, and I know Mr. Johnson probably was thinking the same thing in the 90s, but he was special. And I got one story and a couple other thoughts. Week of the state championship game, because I saw, and I didn't know I had about 3 stories down. I didn't know which way I was going to go. I was going to wait and see who showed up and try and take it depending on that. And one of my best friends since 6th grade, Richard B. Pete Jewell, was our running back. And we had been in the same huddle since the 7th grade. And going into our senior year, which was 85, fortunately, and unfortunately, it was the last state championship that Clark Central has won. And I feel honored to have been a part of that. Jewell breaks his foot before the season starts. He's clearly the starting tailback. We got a sophomore. I didn't see Kenny, but I'll apologize to him later. But he was a little sophomore. He's immature. Now he's big. He was physical. We had a great offensive line. I mean, they were really, really good. They all had started. I think we had at one time probably 10 seniors in that huddle. And we were pretty potent offensively. Jewell breaks his foot before the season starts. We got no choice. We got to start this sophomore. And all of us seniors, Robbie Cameron, Derek Dillon, Randy Williams, all of us, we're on this dude. You better not screw this up. You better not screw this up. You better be ready. You better be ready. Sure enough, he was. Until we get to LaGrange. Jewell's back now. He gets back in about the 7th game, and he's doing his thing. He's just not, they're still splitting time. But they'll alternate start. We go to the LaGrange game, and if you don't know LaGrange, it's at LaGrange. It's in the North Georgia Championship, and they didn't like Clark Central too much. I mean, they're throwing stuff. We're walking out on the field, and about the 2nd carry of the game, they knew Kenny Brown's mother, they knew his brother, they knew everything about him. He runs that ball, and I mean, all I saw was Kenny Brown's eyes. Lay it on the ground. They're spitting on him. They're talking to him. I reach down, grab up. He can't function. He's shook up. He's rattled. Jewell comes in. Long story short, boom. We hold on 13-7. Jewell gets the last first down that ices that clock. We show up at practice Monday and get ready for the state championship. Warner Robins. And it's sleet. It's cold. It's rainy. We get in there, and Coach Henderson was over with the defense. Coach Scott calls the number 1 offense in the huddle. I mean, it's Jewell. It's clear as day. He gets in there, and Coach Scott, being a young coach, he jerks him out of the huddle. Jewell leaves. 7 years. He had put in 6 years in that program. Week of the state championship, he leaves. He walks off practice for good reason. It wasn't handled right. Me, Derek, Randy Williams go pick him up after practice. We drive to Cherokee Ridge. Everybody knows where that is. Throw him out of the car. Start calling Coach Henderson. Start calling him. Tell him look outside. Tell him look outside. Jewell won't go in. He goes in. Lets him back on the team. Sure enough, 2nd play of the 2nd half. He didn't start the game. He started the 2nd half. 2nd play of the 2nd half. Jewell goes 75 yards to ice it. That was the way Coach Henderson handled it. He knew what he needed to do, and he knew how to take care of his players in all situations. I was reading this past week what Billy Graham said, and I read it, and I said, man, if that doesn't sound like Coach right there. He said, one day you will read or hear that I am dead. Don't you believe a word of it. I shall be more alive than I am now. I will just have changed my address. I was like, wow, that's Coach. He's more alive than he is now, and Clark Central will be great again. I can promise you that. Like Billy Graham, Coach Henderson was one of a kind, truly one of a kind. And in closing, I'm going to finish with Dream the Impossible. I'll always dream the impossible dream. I'll reach the unreachable star. May God bless you, Coach, because you have showed us how to reach the unreachable star. And I'm so thankful to have known you. This community is so thankful to have known you. And I appreciate you, all of you, showing up today. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I'm Josh Jones with the ABH Podcast. And to close out today's show, we're going to have an interview with Mariah Parker, a local musician who released an LP album this weekend. She performed Saturday night at Little Kings, and I was there for an interview. So let's just talk to her and see what she has to say. And, yeah. All right, hey, I'm Josh Jones with the Athens Banner Herald, here with Mariah Parker, who's about to release an LP. And I just wanted to kind of introduce you to kind of our audience at the Athens Banner Herald. If you can just talk a little bit about coming to Athens and Hot Cool Entertainment and how you got to this album release tonight.
Absolutely. So when I first came to Athens in 2014, I didn't see much of a hip-hop scene, and nor was I myself like a very active hip-hop artist, though I had been interested in doing so for a long time. And so I felt kind of inspired by the amount of music and just general creativity that I saw here in Athens, and I wanted to make it a place where all kinds of creativity could thrive. So I just kind of put my own show on. It had a really great turnout. I saw that people from all corners of the city were coming out of their, out from like the nooks and crannies and cracks to see what was going on, because they hadn't had a place before where they could like kind of celebrate their cultural identities and like the kind of music they were into. So seeing that need for more hip-hop events, I just continued to push for it in every venue that I could find and every venue that has music. And I'm really proud of the fact that today you can book a hip-hop show any place in town if you want to. People have become a lot more receptive and a lot more understanding of the need for reaching outside of their cultural comfort zones to make sure like all kinds of music are celebrated. And so, yeah, that's a lot of what I've done musically here. So.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about, I know you opened for Montreal and
I did,
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Kind of, that festival is kind of, it's lacked diversity in years fest and you're kind of criticized for it. Maybe just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I've been a fan of Montreal since I was like 11 and 12 years old. I never really would have imagined myself opening for them just because, growing up mostly in the hip-hop, if I was going to be a musician, I'd probably see myself more in one of those kind of fields. But to have gotten that invite, I was like very floored and very excited. But as well, I think it speaks to that particular band's interest in honoring some of their stylistic influences. They do draw a lot from, R&B and classic soul sort of influences, people like Prince, I would say, as well, giving a shout out to the strong women who have defined some of the style choices that I think Kevin and the crew make. So I think that's a little bit of why they just picked me to be there. But I had a great time, and that was one of my favorite moments from being a musician.
Great. And but you've got a lot going on outside of the music in Athens. You're a PhD student at UGA, and you're also highly involved in politics. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So I moved to Athens just to be in Athens, and then I had the wonderful opportunity to have an assistantship at the university, which enabled me to go to school here. So I got my master's in linguistics here. Currently working on my PhD in language and literacy education, because I think that language science, while fascinating, anything we do, it has to be for the benefit of other people. And so I wanted to take that fascination I had with the way language works and turn it into something that's useful for practitioners, for people in classrooms, for students, for people who speak different dialects that might not be validated at school, and as well for people who don't like school, who don't like classrooms and feel kind of scared or diminished in those contexts. So that's kind of what I'm doing over at the university. But increasingly, I'm starting to shift more and more to consider, how do people learn, how do people become politically literate? How do they come to know what they think they know about politics or civic engagement? And how does that education or lack thereof influence, what people think they can do in the political sphere? And so a lot of that has grown out of my involvement with the Tommy Valentine campaign. Tommy's also a former hip-hop artist, and we met a hip-hop show, hit it off, and here I am a year later having managed his campaign since last summer. And I've really enjoyed the opportunity to empower other folks through that work, to kind of bring together a coalition of people who may have never thought that they could do this before. And so they're like, yes, you can. You can go out there and make a difference. Your voice matters. And sort of show them that they do have a seat at the table through the work that we do. And it's also inspired me to see that progressive policy is great, but we need it in all parts of the city. It only works if everyone's on board. And so that to me revealed the strong need for having a whole bench of progressive commissioners in various districts, including in District 2 where I live. And so on Monday, I'll be formally announcing my candidacy for County Commissioner District 2. And then the week after that, we're going to have a kickoff party at my house, and I'm really excited to duplicate what Tommy and I have done within District 9 and the district that really needs it the most, in my opinion, which is District 2.
Oh, wow. And then that'll be a quick election coming up in May, is that correct? Yeah. And then you just talk a little bit about maybe your plan for that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing in building movements is just getting out there and talking to people, and so we're really excited to do a lot of door-to-door outreach, just soliciting feedback from our friends and neighbors, who live in District 2, to say how do you all feel about what's going on? What do you think we need? And how do you feel about these ideas? And you do that throughout, going out and shaking hands and just meeting people person by person, conversation by conversation. And so it's going to be a lot of hard work, but I look forward to it because, as I said, I think that this district needs it the most. It's the poorest district in Athens, most African American district in Athens, and so they, more so than any other, probably needs some of the...
Hey, we're back, and I certainly look forward to speaking with you more about your candidacy, as long as all the other candidates. I want to expand these interviews to get everyone in before the election starts. But tonight I want to just go a little bit deeper. You talked about how through your music and through everything you do, you kind of want to make the world a better place, or interact with people. And can you just talk a little bit maybe about this album and just a particular song, and just a little deeper into the music tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely. I found writing these songs to be very cathartic, and sharing them with people, I found that it can be very empowering when people know that others have gone through similar struggles that they have. Talking about hardship that I have seen in my life regarding healthcare, dealing with racial injustices, being a woman in the world is not always the easiest thing. When people hear the songs, I sometimes receive the feedback that, it resonates with them, because these are stories that they themselves experience, these are problems that they've gone through, and that they see that it's okay to embrace those truths without letting them weigh them down, and that they can still go out and inspire other people despite the things that they've been through. And so that to me is the main reason to keep making music. At first it being somewhat of a cathartic mission, but now being like, I want people to see it's okay. What you've been through, you're still an okay person, and you can still go out there and do whatever you want to do. Which is also how I feel about politics. Yeah, so it's all very connected to me.
Great. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak to me and readers at the Banner Herald. Thanks so much for listening. This is a project I am really excited about and look forward to exploring more so in the weeks to come. And I'm going to play some music from Mariah's show to close out the show.
I'm like, go bike, say, let me hear you say, go bike. That girl rides, that girl rides, such cold rhymes. That girl bike, that girl rides, that girl might go worldwide. That girl bike, that girl rides, that girl might go worldwide. Say worldwide. Say worldwide. Say worldwide. Where's my girl Amani at? Hey. We about to go worldwide. I don't know if you might have seen me before. Whipping it around town. We all gotta get somewhere somehow. And on my way, I'm on a bicycle. You see that girl right, that girl right, that girl right, that girl right, such girl right, that girl right, go. You see that girl right, that girl right, that girl right, that girl right, such girl right, that girl right, go. Might have been wise to do, but I thought twice as go right by on my shiny bicycle. In high school, I considered cars and bicycles, but it's incredible. What's some pedal and exercise? Tighten up your thighs and glutes. That's my derriere could be any more recognizable. Hey, I see you staring at my derriere when I'm riding through. I was you staring at what every village champion. I can never get the spot would do. Even as I whip down, I'm about the bike and lock it. The light reflecting, I've been looking something like.